Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're ready to start.
Yes. Yeah.
So, my name is Pavel Lovyannikov. Some friends from Poland. I'm one of the founders and CEO of Jalinga. And thank you for joining us at the Second Jalinga Conference. First of all, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to the Italiacamp Dubai Hub for Made in Italy, for graciously hosting this conference. And also, of course, I would like to thank the MBRSG team for assisting us with support and kind of assisting throughout the conference preparation. In this conference, we're going to give you essential insights and a valued workshop all 3 days. Additionally, you have a chance to win a memorable prize, of course. During the conference, please make posts on Instagram and tag our account Jalinga Global. As soon as we're our international global company, so be careful, pick the right one, Jalinga Global, that one, not the British one, not American, not Spanish, not Egyptian, just Jalinga Global, yeah. And today at 4 p.m. there will be a chance to win the prize. We have something for you. As we learned from our first Jalinga Days conference in 2023, in the MENA countries, the most important thing is delivering significant expertise firsthand. That's why I'm proud to tell you what kind of program do we have for you. But before I go further, now let me say a few words who we are and why we're here. So, some of you may know that Jalinga is an international tool for universities and schools, and we help educational entities to take a leading position in their field. Without product, they rocket their educational content, educational materials to a new level. Can you?
Yes, sure.
Yeah. Okay. This video about this. That's not me. Okay. So our main goal is to support all the universities and schools to the top of the rankings and to grow a new generation with useful knowledge that specialists need in a whole new world. But why our Jalinga studios are so successful around the world? When we research real educators' problems by ourselves, we discovered that universities worldwide share common challenges, common problems. First of all, student attrition due to low academic performance, limited time for educators to focus on skill development, and of course, inadequate access to suitable equipment. And all educators know that holding students' attention is not an easy task, And we have developed a unique solution for creating engaging, compelling education videos and video content quickly and within budget. And nowadays, any person can just press one button to shoot their own videos. And I'm not talking about your smartphones. You can take a look at this screen. One of my colleagues, Mr. Weil, is in the studio over here, right now in this room, live. He can interact with the objects of his presentation in real time. So, Jalinga isn't a tech company in the intersection of software and hardware. Based on our software and equipment that we manufacture, we build self-recording video studios that allow creating engaging, educational, and of course, marketing content. Have you seen the Iron Man movie? So, pretty much the same, but without a film crew, without post-production, without editing, just the speaker. Speaker is the only person in the studio. Speaker opens his slides and finds himself inside the presentation. when shooting is done, you get the video right here and right now. You can upload right away, and of course you can do it live. It is fully compatible with Zoom, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, and so on. So the thing is that we have developed hardware and software specifically for your convenience, dear educators. No more talking heads in the corner of the screen, please. Honestly, they don't engage anymore. No time waiting for long preparation before shooting a video course. We solved all these problems. And we easily assemble a studio like this in a room. It takes around 200 square feet, sorry. And of course, we provide full technical support, technical and methodological support for all the services. And here in this venue, in this conference, we have organized a workshop with the video studio, and we invite you to join us for this invaluable experience. Now I'm continuing with an agenda. These 3 days, we have honored speakers from Mohammed bin Rashid School of Government, from Amity University, and other honored speakers. We'll talk about creating compelling online courses, video courses. We'll talk about AI. So the agenda is over here. You don't have to memorize it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask our team, and let the show begin.
Dear Paul, thank you for this detailed introduction and warm welcome. Saying this, I wish all of you a fruitful and insightful conference and a lot of takeaways. And now I would like to give a floor to our first speaker, keynote speaker, Mr. Emmanuel, a professor of the Mohammed bin Rashid School of Government, who will tell us about compelling, engaging video courses and the Mohammed bin Rashid experience with Jalinga. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So I'll try to make this quite interactive, as the topic that I've been speaking about today is creating compelling videos for our courses that we teach in order to captivate our students, in order to make it quite engaging. How many of us are coming from the educational institutes? Just by show of hands. Okay. Higher education. So majority of us. Junior or senior primary schools, secondary schools. Okay. Marketing firms. Okay, so we have majority of us here coming from the education bit. Now, with the Mohammed bin Rashid School of Government, we are based in the same building on the 13th floor, and we've just moved to our new campus in City Walk. You know City Walk campus. So it's just opposite the Canadian University in Dubai. We've just moved like less than a month ago, so it's quite new for us. So the experience that I'll be giving you is in terms from our point of view and working with the Jalinga studios here in Dubai, who has been quite instrumental. And me, I mean, they have not paid me to say this, but I love Jalinga. It's the best thing since sliced bread. I don't know if you know that statement. So, you know, one of the things is why is it so important for us to engage with our students? We want to impart some sort of knowledge for our students. We want to make it interesting for them. We are here, our role as educators, aka facilitators, is really to translate knowledge into making sure it's applied within the real world. I come from an era where it was a lot of knowledge dump. Content which had, so I've done 4 degrees, of which maybe 20% of what I have learned I can actually use in reality. So the notion of the teaching methods and so forth, we really need to think about being more facilitators, being more applied. And through this, you get this with engaging with your students. Now, how we can do this, basically, the next 40 minutes or so, I would talk about mainly, the key elements to make a video compelling, as well as some strategies for keeping engaging students, and this goes across the board, whether it's secondary school, primary school, university students, undergraduate, postgraduate. It goes across the board, as well as some practical tools and techniques that we can also apply in our various developments of these videos. How many of us are on social media? Whether it's Facebook, Instagram, how many of us do actual videos of our trips, our families, and so forth? So we are also content creators. We may be mini influencers, we may be grand influencers, and so forth, but we already have this essence of creating videos. If we take out social media, many times if we go to events, your weddings, birthdays, there will always be a video camera, right? Or you hire a videographer to record the event, and on the anniversary of the event, you all sit, like this is what we did back home in Trinidad. We sit together and we look at the beautiful memories and so forth. And we even post the videos to close members and so forth. So this was a way of engaging. Similarly, in the classrooms, similar approach has also been adopted. Now, one of the key things is understanding the audience. Now, the reason why I ask the different dichotomies or different portfolios that you hold, each of us have different audiences. It's not a one-size-fits-all box. This is something that we need to keep in mind. Now, one of the things we live in, and all of us are coming from the United Arab Emirates, right? Yes. And everyone based here. One of the things we know in the UAE, we have over 200 nationalities. It's quite a cosmopolitan country. Varying languages, over 148 languages are being spoken across these 200 various nationalities. We have access to 2/3 of the world's population and so forth. So it's quite diverse. Just last year we had 25 million visitors coming across. So it's very diverse. And why it's really important to look at the demographic analysis. When we do have our list of students, it's important for us to understand where they come from. The countries, not necessarily to stereotype, but try to understand where they're coming from, whether they're coming from high-income countries, low and middle-income countries. Try to understand their background in terms of their learning from in the past. Because we make the assumption, because they have gotten accepted into a master's degree in public administration, we make the assumption that everyone is equal and there's learning styles and so forth, it's the same. So it's really, understanding the different various cultures, the academic levels as well. Even though they may hold a bachelor's, it may not necessarily be on the same playing field across the board. They might have studied in a different language. Coming into the master's, they may be studying it into English, which we at the School of Government, we are only offering master degree programs, and I'll talk about that shortly. But most of our students, 95% of our students are locals, Emiratis. Most of them their education would have been, their initial education would have been in Arabic. So this translation from Arabic to English instruction, it's new to them. I speak 3.5 languages, but I only communicate in one language when I'm teaching. I cannot teach in other languages. That's just how my brain functions. I have professors that they can speak in French, English, and Arabic. They can teach across all three, which is great, but we are all different learners. So language, interests, and understanding the various cultures that are there. The learning preferences and styles. I'm a very visual person. My job is reading. Right? I hate reading. Would you believe it? I read in my job to get it done, of course, but when I'm on vacation or I go home, I want to watch TV, I want to scroll on my phone, look at visual pictures. You know, this is what would stimulate. This is how I learn as an individual. Some may be different. You could read the text and comprehend it easy. Me, I have to read the chapter 5 times before I can actually get it. But that's just my learning style as a whole. So this is quite important. So a part of understanding the audience as well is gathering information. You know, so making sure we have an array of information from your surveys, from focus groups, from the various data. We have our register or registration team or administration team. They have a wealth of information about our students. Utilize it. Right? Try to get into understanding this, understand the various dichotomies that are taking place and so forth. Now, I've covered a bit on this. The second point I want to highlight, which I will elaborate a bit more, is in terms of setting the objectives. So earlier on, I started off saying, we are here as facilitators. We are here to do the knowledge translation, to facilitate this knowledge translation. In that aspect, we need to set our objectives. We are the storyteller, right? And there's some steps I will share shortly on this. So we need to be, we have our kids where we say their bedtime, we read this bedtime story for them. We are that storyteller. We do the same thing to our students as well. So this is quite critical for us. We need to set clear learning objectives. We have, if we have 12 weeks of teaching, each week we have specific objectives. This is what we would like to impart and so forth. And I will take you all through shortly. So this provides, why is this so important? We all know this, but just for just to recap, it's important so that we keep the focus, we keep the direction. Because as professors, as faculty, we tend to talk. I'm a talker, right? So sometimes I go beyond the point. And I have to keep time as well, because sometimes I talk too much as well. So, it gives us this opportunity to keep focused direction. The next is to have continuous improvement. We know quality management, this is the previous era in terms of the terminologies, but it really helps us to continuously develop not only ourselves, but also our students. How many of us use content from 15 years ago and not updated? You don't need to show your hands. But I know professors that do this, right? I have worked with professors that do this, and I see it in the evaluation form. So as program director, when I get all of these evaluation forms of professors and I try to go to the professor to say, listen, what you're teaching is a bit out of scope. It's almost 2 decades old. We need to be current. We need to really speak the language as of today and what's happening. Theory is important, the background, the foundation is important, but it also gives us that opportunity to develop those objectives and bring it very much concurrent and so forth. It also helps us to motivate our students, keep them engaged, because they are our change agents. We are the facilitator, but they are the ones going to go in the workplace and make a difference. Just as how all of us, if we reflect of our learning experiences, I'm certain you would have liked certain things to be done in a different way, as opposed to have a status quo of teaching us as individuals. I've been in classrooms with 500 students. It's a bit different to adapt these sort of methodologies. But if you have niche classrooms with less than 35 students, I think it's quite doable, and so forth. And it also helps us to, improve those learning outcomes as a whole. Now, with setting these clear objectives, it also helps us to relate it to the course content and the assessment. So if at the end of the class we would like to reflect on, okay, so if I'm teaching health policy, for instance, and the first session is the introduction to health policy. Health policy is in two distinct elements. One is service oriented, where we give services and care to the population, and the other is system oriented, where it's the processes, the structures that help facilitate this care. At the end of the class or the lecture, I would want to assess to see how best did they get that we have two distinctions when it comes to health policy. When we talk about health care versus health policy, it's two different notions. So I will have to put and build in some exercises and so forth in this. And I will show some examples shortly on this. Any questions about understanding the audience? So please feel free to, if you want to contribute, you have your own reflections as well, please. We're here to have a dialogue as well. So please feel free. Any questions before I continue? It's all okay? Okay. Content creation. So earlier I talked about we are the storytellers, right? It's literally we are the storytellers. We are the author of this particular lecture that we are about to give. This is quite important for us where, similarly, if we look at an example here, introduction to the course, what is Jalinga, what are the different functionalities, you have a quiz, or you have a reflection activity, case study, discussion, and so forth. And then you have some sort of reflection. What are the steps forward? And how is this going to link to the next topic? And so forth. So you make that link. And it's important for us to ensure the logic flow of the topics. We cannot be helter-skelter, where you think about your teaching like the alphabet, right? Whether, regardless of the language, I'm just going to use English. A to Z, our teaching should be logical. We don't want to start off ABC, then we go XYZ, then we go up to MNO. It will confuse the living head out of the students. Honestly, it will. I've had professors did this in my previous studies. So it's quite critical to keep this in mind. Now, me as a learner, I mentioned visual is quite important for me. What's also important is writing scripts, right? Usually, if I had to give a lecture, not a lecture, say a talk in front of a conference, and it's not so much as a workshop style, I would write a script. I would read my script, I'd be comfortable with it. Similarly, when we do interactions, when we prepare our lectures, of course, if you're new at it, writing scripts, it's a must. Or even an outline. It helps you to keep on focus, and it also gives the students, and I share these scripts with them. There's no secret because, I'm here to translate the knowledge. I share the script with them so that they can also make notes along the way. So this is quite important, and the storytelling techniques it works. Some persons, they engage with a personal story. They engage with, whatever you started with. This is quite critical to keep in mind. Teaching could be very boring on one end, but it can also be quite exciting for our students, right? So this is so some clear tips in engaging when we talk about the script writing. It provides clarity, it provides direction, focus. It also helps you to keep the tone, the conversational tone as well. We do teach some topics that may be a bit controversial. You want that dialogue in the class. You want to stimulate that discussion as well. It's not a one-hat-fit-all. We need to stimulate this discussion. We have different nationalities in the room. We have varying cultures and so forth. We'll be respectful, but we need to have that interaction between each other. And also, sometimes we tend to get bogged down with the heavy terminologies. Yes, we give the students reading material. How many students read our materials? If 2% is plenty. How many of us use Blackboard? Blackboard? The software, not the literal Blackboard. No. Or maybe WebEx. Which one would you use? Moodle? Whiteboards. Any other software you use? Moodle? Canvas. So I assume there would be a student usage report that you could go into the system and see. I'll tell you without a doubt, less than 10% of the students access the content throughout the semester, meaning the reading materials and so forth. Only when it comes to the exams or the assessment time, you see it, and you see the hours late, between 10 and 5 a.m., right? It's there, and so we're able to pull these reports. But how could we, so sometimes the use of jargons as well, it may discourage the students from engaging in the discussion. So we need to make the assumption they did not read, and I always make a joke. I trust that everyone has read, but however, emotional intelligence is this. Who remembers that? Okay, yeah, a few hands, yeah, you know, and so forth, right? But this is how you can engage them and so forth. Earlier I talked about the storytelling techniques. So, as I said earlier, teaching could be very dry, it's very theoretical, framework oriented and so forth. But as facilitators, as storytellers, it's in our role to really make it exciting. How do you make this exciting? You use case studies. Now, I hold two hats. Professor for Health Policy and Systems Research, but also the President of the Academy of International Business for the Middle East, North Africa region. When I got here 18 years ago, I was thrown into the classroom to teach. I was teaching ethics, business and ethics, at one point. And the case studies that I had was from British Airways as one of those cases. One was from Canada, Air Canada, and this was published 30 years ago. So I'm talking 2006, 30 years ago, do the maths. It was even beyond I was born, right, from before, right? Now, think about the context, it's Western. I'm teaching in the Middle East with over 163 nationalities in my class. How am I going to relate this case study? Because many of us say, yes, we use case study, but how applicable is it? So one of the things we did in the Academy of International Business was to build local cases. So you need to tap into your local cases, and there are many resources free of charge. There's no charge to it, that you can access to use in your classroom. So case studies, it provides those real examples and bring those techniques into it. And this is how you can build this in when you're creating your content aspect. And when you're doing the video, this is where you can bring clips of real companies. So for instance, we did let's take Azad Moping, which is the medical healthcare hospital here. We did a whole case study on it, and when I'm teaching my healthcare module and putting the videos together, I put a couple of snapshots when of course with permission, with Dr. Azad Mopin of our interview, and little scripts, and it really gives this personalized experience for the students, and they can see this is a real person in real, not so much real time, it might have been 6 months old, but it's concurrent information talking about policy issues in healthcare and so forth, and some of the challenges, and it really gets the students involved into this particular problem-solving issue. So you as the facilitator, you really need, your role is to impart the knowledge, you want to give that need, which we respond to. You also want to really cross the border, you cross those lines, where we keep it respectful, but we go beyond your traditional way of how you were thought to teach. Now, how do I say this? The European framework, I go regularly to do guest lectures, teaching across Europe. And I find it a bit archaic, the way the systems are. It's, from my personal view, the student interaction, it's very old school. It's 1960s, 1950s. The way of presenting, even the room, the colors in the room, it's so 50s. Don't get me wrong, please don't get me wrong. But it gives a different feeling. when you do enter in as a facilitator, and worse yet, even as a student coming in, so it's that environment is also important. So it's really important for us to really step out of the box and not only with the curriculum, but even our teaching environment. What we did at the School of Government, we have walls where you can write on, where students can write on. Of course, you can rub it off and clean and fix it and so forth, but we make it quite interactive. We make the rooms that we can have breakout rooms, have breakout sessions and so forth. They can have their different discussions. They see the videos and so forth, but they can interact with each other and so forth. We also need to benchmark, try to look to see what are the trailblazing ideologies, what's happening there. Now, I just got back from South Korea. How many of you have been to South Korea? We know that this country is booming when it comes to digitalization, technologies and so forth. I was mind-boggled. When the amount of technologies, I honestly thought UAE is the best, one of the best in the world when it comes to implementation in teaching and so forth. What I saw there, it was really mind-blowing. Even from your everyday movement and so forth, you could do everything from the phone. From ordering a taxi, doing groceries, doing the metro, whatever you wanted, it was all on Alipay. Everything, it was just phenomenal. So it's really important for us to benchmark, see what others are doing, and bring those best practices back to your classrooms and so forth. One of just to highlight on the benchmarking exercise, a couple of years ago in 2017, we did an exercise on assessments. How many of us in our assessments, we have no exams, no written exams? So we have a few, right? So the majority of us have written exams. We at the School of Government have no written exams. Except for one, it's an in-class activity that they have to do on Excel to do some, the quantitative analysis and so forth. But generally, it's all project-based learning because these are master students that we deal with. They are working professionals, seniors in the government. They need to have applied teaching. So they bring the problems to the classroom, we work with them through it, and they provide solutions to their various stakeholders. And it's a win-win. What they've studied, they can translate this knowledge into practice, and this is what we want to do. And we had a professor, a professor who teaches in the Arabic program, Dr. Yusuf. He went abroad, got the training on project-based learning. He came back, translated that knowledge to us, where we could, utilize this in our teachings and so forth. We also need to really look at what is the end point of this, and then there will be some trade-offs. There will have to be some investments that we have to do. We as faculty, we were having some discussions earlier in the adaptation of using technologies such as Jalinga, even the online Moodle, Canvas and so forth. It takes time for all the faculties to come at the same level in feeling up to mark in teaching and so forth. So it will take time, but we need to invest in our staff as well to bring the professional development up to par. And then making sure all in itself, we really want to, the end goal is knowledge translation. That's the end goal. That's the best of both worlds. We as a faculty, we're happy that the knowledge has been translated. At least 90% of our students gets it. At least, not that I'm saying that's our KPI, but we would hope that our students grasp as much as possible. And this all in its all really comes from bringing real case scenarios and so forth. Now to the video element, I'm good for time, right? Yeah. For the video elements and audio and so forth, high quality videos is quite critical. If we get a low quality, how many of, when we look on YouTube, if we're looking at a video, if it's in low quality, with us, the first couple of seconds, 20 seconds, they lose us, right? You switch, you go to another. high quality video is quite critical. Yes, it can be memory wise, it can be heavy taxing on the memory, it can be heavy taxing even on the cost as well, and so forth. But this is quite critical for us to keep in mind. This you can utilize in many platforms, you can reuse and so forth. So high quality video is quite important. Also visuals and graphics. Of course, you don't want it to be a puzzle piece, right? You don't want it to be a puzzle piece. But you make it interactive. You really want to engage with it. You're talking about, for instance, this is a map aspect. Say you're teaching, let's say, mining, right? I'm just using it because it's a map, right? Mining, and you really want to illustrate to the students, look, these are the strategic points where we need to do the drilling and so forth, or doing the scoping, search area and so forth, and you bring these visuals to they would quicker remember it. I know I would quicker remember it. And at least 62% of our students, would you believe, prefer visuals? Because you know the saying, a picture tells 1,000 words. Similar, right? We go away with a picture or a visual and it stays longer. And this is how our human nature has been. Rather than remembering the 50 words of a page. I mean, how many of us could do that? We do have some really high IQ persons that could really do this, but you know, generally speaking. So visuals, graphics, this is quite important as well. Now, the basics with the high quality video productions, the lighting is important as well. So with Jalinga, they have given us comprehensive teaching. Even the color of the clothes that you do. We are TV presenters. I like to say, my nickname in my family is Weatherman. Because when I use the Jalinga room, they say, you like the weatherman. You know, and it's so fun. I love using it. But also the colors, the lighting as well. This is quite important. We had professors, we have some Emirati professors in the white Kandura. We had to make sure the background is conducive so it doesn't look like a white ghost. And this is what happens, you know, so we have to be mindful of this. But we do have the experts from Jalinga that advises on this. Right? They give a lot of our staff the training and the guidance on this. So, and they also help us to polish a couple of our videos. And thanks for that, to the team for doing this as well. And this presentation, Diana, I don't know if Diana is here, but thanks to Diana and the team for doing my presentation. You know, they helped me. I give the script and they helped me prepare this presentation as well. Now, visuals, as we've said, so infographics. Do we know what is an infographic? So this is like a snapshot, quick fact sheet, as we would say, right? This is an important toolkit. Yes, you will have your 20-page document, but infographics is quite critical. This sends a nice summary statement to the students. It really encapsulates what you're trying to embody. Avoid using much text, please. You will lose the students if you're putting it in the video. Similarly in your PowerPoint presentations, right? Many students, they study from their lectures because it's the content from the textbook that gets dumped onto the PowerPoint. No, that PowerPoint should be just as a guide to facilitate the discussion. Some of our professors, they got a bit carried away, right? But infographics helps a lot. Also, you know, if we do have words, you know those animations where they then pop up. The first one, that disappears, the second one comes up. It helps the student to keep focus as well. So we would think it's a no-brainer, but I'm telling you, it's not a no-brainer. Not everyone gets it, but it really plays a part on the students learning and even trying to get that knowledge transfer easily enforced and so forth. Now the interactive components, So within the videos, within your live teachings and so forth, you want to have interactive sessions, whether it's through your case studies, but you can have quiz. So sometimes many of us have been in Zoom, and we got Zoom fatigue since COVID, right? Zoom or Teams and so forth. And they usually have these little poll questions that come up, right? Similarly, it's to engage. So you might have 900 persons in your talk listening online, they logged on. But in reality, 112 responded to your poll. Right? That's about 20% of people actually interacting. You know, I wouldn't say you're a boring speaker, but maybe they're busy with something, maybe 10% busy, they got a phone call or something. But the others, they're just disinterested from the topic, or they may have another agenda, let me just get a certificate, you know, I can do other things, and so forth. I'm not saying any of us do that in this room. We are all professionals, we listen and so forth. But this helps us to engage with, to measure the level of engagement with the students. You could see, then you could say, only 20% of us are answering. You know, I'm just going to throw out names here. Mohammed, I didn't see you responded. Then you say, no, doctor, yeah, I did. You know, I mean, then you start to see the scores going up, right? So it's a nice checkpoint to see how your students are engaging and so forth. And there are different formats, whether it's multiple choice, whether it's open answered questions, whether it's drop down and so forth. And so you can choose those depending on the program or software that you're using. Another item is after every session, you always ask for feedback. If everybody's nodding, something's wrong, right? Somebody don't want to speak. I would say, okay, was my pace good? Were you able to hear me? Because I tend to talk quick, very quick sometimes, because I'm so passionate about the topic, and I forget my audience, who are they? So I would always tell them at the beginning, if I'm talking quick, please tell me, stop me, don't wait till the lecture is finished to tell me then. So it's important for us to ask for those feedback from our students. This is quite critical. Even during you stop in between the lectures and so forth. The other thing is formative assessments. So you have formative and your informal as well. So students, of course, if you tell them this assignment is not for marks, or this, they don't participate. Right? But we need to be innovative in our thinking. Usually the summative one, we would say, this helps with your actual graded one. So we link it. So we call it a directed learning independent task. So we ensure that they would make sure to have this, which feeds into your the written assignment. It doesn't do the entire assignment for you, but it helps. It gives you the kickstart. So these are some things that we need to think about, and you ask for continuous feedback on this as well. Engaging with students and through the forums, through the various discussion boards, whether it's Blackboard, whether it's Canvas, whether it's Moodle, and so forth, we would have those interactions. Even if you're doing it live, you will have your discussion items there. You know, have a bank of questions, like I always, and I just throw it out. We have this 2-3 questions here, let's have a discussion about it and discuss. Then once we've discussed it, you've gone into groups, let's post it onto Blackboard discussion post, and let's reflect. Let other groups then comment on it, and so forth. And again, linking it to the non-graded assignment, more or less. You make it part of the graded assignment, linking it to the grading assignment. You know, so also making sure we have a positive environment, addressing the students' inquiries promptly. Many times we say, yes, I will get to that, but you never get to it. If we committed to get to it, please. Take a note of it, you know, have a little scribble pad and take a note of it, and get back to it, and immediately, not 2 weeks later. And so because you lose the interest of the students. If you respond quickly, they will have that interaction more with you and so forth. And also encourage peer-to-peer. Our cohort of students, they are very much senior. So I always say, yes, we have the PhD. We have this education. We have some practical experience, but you are versed in your area. I want to hear from you. I want to see the interaction between the healthcare sector and the non-governmental sector that's managing medical supplies. I want to see that interaction. I want to hear and I want to learn from you. So encourage that sort of interaction. It's a facilitation. It's a two-way process and so forth. This is an example where we broke out into groups, where we had some scenarios, and we've asked the students, we've given them like about 40 minutes to have a discussion, in terms of various parts, looking at environmental sustainable crisis in the context of Seychelles. This was deputy ministers across the 28 ministries in Seychelles we did this training for, and we asked them to really brainstorm and try to come up with some variables when it comes to HR, when it comes to agile policymakers and technology. What can we do? And they brainstorm and they come together. We put them in groups, and then they present their ideas and so forth, so that we have that peer-to-peer interaction, and we also have that knowledge sharing across the board. And going back to the audience, knowing the audience is quite critical, because if you're dealing with high-level persons, they're not your traditional student cohort, right? So it's a different formality that we will need to. We are working with them as peers. We are not working as them as the lecturer and I am the one in charge here, right? Because when I did the course, most of them were older than I was, right? When I was doing this training, so I had to respect them. I always give them time to give their input and listen from them. Let me hear about their best practices that has been happening in the context and so forth. So these were like different scenarios. We asked them to identify, types of human resources issues and so forth, and broke them out, and we had that discussion. Online and so forth. And the last bit, which is really looking at the technologies. I'm looking for time. How much? Oh, good. Oh, so I have time. Good. Technology, tools, and so forth. Now, we've already, did some of you see my slides before? How many of us are using Jalinga? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So very handful, 6. Right, a very handful of us. Now, these are your various platforms that we use, and it's very much integrated. Right? It's easy. Even Zoom, you can use. When I did my trainings with Seychelles and so forth, Kazakhstan and the various ministries abroad, we use Zoom platform in the Jalinga room, and this was quite easily done and so forth. So it was quite an ease of use. Integration with other tools were quite informative. I'm reflecting on our February session. I think when we did the innovations, various innovation tools in education, one of our professors, she was abroad and she had some emergency and she could not be in the room with me in Jalinga. So we had her come on, but we needed to be both on screen. Ari, I think is his name, right? Ari, the engineer.
Ars.
Yeah, Ars, right? He came in and integrated some software. I don't even know what it is. I'm not an IT specialist at all. But integrated it lastminute.com to facilitate Raquel and I speaking at the same time. So she's in Zoom in a little corner. We make it quite interactive. She's there. I'm on one side. I give my talk. And we having this ping pong. It's like if we literally sitting side by side and having this dialogue. I'm sure if you go onto Jalinga website, you will see that. I think the video is there, right? The webinar is there. You would be able to see it.
On YouTube channel.
On YouTube channel. you'd be able to see it. So it was really, really user-friendly and to have this tool come into play. And it gave us ideas. So when I'm teaching my health policy course, I can have someone from the WHO MO region coming in, putting them up, have them talk for half an hour, and then they leave. Have another guest lecture, and so forth. So it was quite interactive. I thought that was which I didn't know at the time, but it was like a major points for us. The support and the resources, the scalability, it goes beyond borders. You know, we no longer have to be, your students have to be face to face. We have done trainings for over 46 government entities. This is a project we've done under the Prime Minister's office. 46 governmental entities, Prime Minister to Prime Minister, offices of their ministers in the last year and a half. And most of the course delivery was done using our Jalinga room, where we were able to do this. And of course, some of it was in Zoom. If we had clashes, we can't have, you know, the two happening at the same time. But this really helped us to scale up our reach and so forth. And it cut a lot of costs. You know, imagine flying in 46 deputy ministers multiplied by 46 governments and so forth. Just do the maths on this. Multiply by 6 times in the year, you're running into millions upon millions. Yes, we did bring them. They had to come in for at least one time in the entire cohort, but usually it came in at the point where they had to present their case study or their capstone project, where they presented it to their fellow ministers, their ambassadors locally, the ministers here and so forth, and they get feedback, and then they graduated at the government summit. So it really allowed for that scalability. We also have, at the School of Government, we applied for hybrid teaching, which using the Jalinga room allows for us to reach international students. Our students can come in for one weekend and study, go back to their home country, continue the studies, and you know, so they don't have to move here for a year and a half entirely. They just need to fly in, fly back home. It does not impact on their full-time work and so forth. So it really lends its hand when it comes to scalability in itself. One of the tools, the Final Cut Pro X, this helps to really shape your videos and so forth. So this is quite important, and there's some techniques here where you know you could use various applications, Palette, also Kahoot. Kahoot is Korea based, right? Yeah, I heard on the news something about some lawsuit with the CEO of Kahoot. It just reminded me. But yeah, we can still continue to use it. You have other educational tools that you could really use for, you know, bringing your interactive learning. Within the Jalinga as well, you have parts where you can, if you want to show a short YouTube link, you could build this into your presentation, and this pops up, and this is broadcast for the students to see, and then you can continue the lecture and so forth. So it's really interactive, which and I have been using it for quite some time. Here we have a fellow colleague teaching on climate change. Of course, this is probably fast forwarded. So you know, it's when you're doing your recording, the beauty about this recording, you can stop, you can go back, you can erase, you know, you can edit, and of course the team in Dubai, they have helped us a lot in editing, in doing this editing of the videos and so forth. And in creating the presentations, you could do this anywhere from Jalinga Web. Anywhere in the world you can do it. You don't have to be based in your own studio. So I have been at home, I don't have Jalinga studio in my house, but I'm able to do my my presentations from home, edit it, and then if I do have some complex issues, I ask the team in Dubai, look, we have this, can you help me with this? And they reach out and they do help out and so forth on this aspect. So some best practices and tips before we pause for some questions. You know, and I jumped the gun. You could integrate your multimedia images, your YouTubes and so forth. You also can integrate case studies, practical examples, guest lectures, group activities, and so forth. So all of this I have already covered, but this is what helps and strengthens student interactions, helps to have your students, it increases your students' interactions. Now, I say this all humbly, my student satisfaction rate before use of Jalinga before using this style of teaching, I was at 91%, and my director and acting dean, Dr. Arthur, is here to confirm as well. I'm not making up the number. 91% this was pre-COVID, right? Now, on average, per year is 98%. Yes, right? And one of the main areas which we excelled in was the interaction. You feel involved in the class. You feel like a knowledge sharer. You felt at the same level as the lecturer. You know, you were able to give your knowledge and impart your insights and best practices. And as in any human being, if you have a voice and you feel appreciated, they will appreciate your learning and your knowledge exchange. So this really boosts that experience for me, and it also helped me to think outside of the box, to think in how to engage with the students and so forth. So this really helped out a lot. It's a pity it's only a very small percent of your appraisal it accounts for. Hint, hint, you know. But generally speaking, it really encourages the student, and this is what you want at the end of the day. Satisfaction rates is important, yes, but actually engagement. This is the impact that we want. We want student engagement because they are our future storytellers. They are our word of mouth. Right? They will go out, they are our advocators, they are the future change agents. And who best to do it is them through increasing our student engagement as a whole. So making sure we have real world applications and so forth. So many times I would say to them, okay, let's go on to LinkedIn page for International Vaccine Institute. Right? Let's go and see some reports that's happening there. Let's see the various news that are coming out of this particular institute. So I maybe would put like a 20 minutes session. We all go on, everybody's on their phone. You might be checking WhatsApp or whatever. You know. But we integrate these various learning, and we have them be like, oh, there's some news about this. We just spoke about this aspect. What did they do to mitigate against this problem? Even if this, because some it depends on the company. Some companies would have more of a voice on Instagram. They may have more of a voice on Twitter. They may have more of a voice on Facebook or LinkedIn or TikTok and so forth. So it depends. And this is how you could, you bring the real world applications into the classroom. You get them engaged. You get them. They might be checking and message their people on WhatsApp or on Instagram and so forth, but it's okay. You know, they're still getting a chance to interact and so forth. So all in all, you know, this really helps us to provide this real world application in our classroom and to strengthen the student management aspects. Now, I'm just trying to see translation. I think most of it, yes, we have discussed. I've mentioned this before, regular feedback. Now, it's one thing to ask for students feedback, but it's also a good idea to have peers, your peers, or your colleagues coming in, sitting into the classroom online to see if it's really working. The ones that would really tell you, listen, Emmanuel, you know, this, what you did, you kind of lose us here, you know, but the students wouldn't say that. But this is also important. I mean, many of us, when we teach in the past, or even present, we do have colleagues come in and they're doing peer and they're doing their reports, and then they give it to the line manager and so forth. similar, we can do this virtually as well. So it really helps us to improve and take it as constructive criticism and constructive feedback. Nobody's out to get your job, right? It's to improve our skill sets and so forth. We want to make sure the impact of knowledge translation is at its highest level. So once we have gathered the feedback, we have analyzed this feedback, what has been made important for us, and adapting the content. This really helps us to continuously improve and so forth. So some of the various case studies I've spoken about some of the features when it comes to in Jalinga in terms of the various tools that we can do. You can integrate your interactive videos. You can also have feedback from the students and so forth. So these can be quite interactive for our students and so forth. Some of the common pitfalls that we want to avoid in general, for instance, I would think this worked in terms of having this number of words on the screen, but usually I would say never have so much words on the screen. But in this case, it's an exercise. I've split up the classroom into 5 groups. There's 5 scenarios. They all need to see what needs to be done and so forth. So this is so it's really important to learn from those various aspects as well. We also, you remember the plan, do, check, act approach, the Deming cycle, so it's important for us to create those objectives, set our matrix clear. We want to continuously improve, implement those improvements, have measurements, have our KPIs. We want to do check balances to see what's working, what's not working, how to improve it, and then learn from those lessons. What are the lessons learned from this? What can we do to improve? Even though I have 98%, I still want to captivate that other 2%, right? But of course that's impossible. But it's still, you still have to continuously develop and so forth. So in conclusion, understanding the audience is quite important. Setting clear objectives, the quality of your production is important. In addition to that, interactivity in terms of increasing the engagement of your students, and continuously improving, continuous improvement is critical. Any questions for us? I know I talk a lot, sorry. Any questions?
General question.
Yes.
Because you're an accomplished educator. So I was wondering, learning itself has undergone a drastic change in the last 3 decades. From those years of lecture, your ability to spend long hours in faculty universities, the immersive learning, the ability to interact in first person with the professor is one thing. Today, because of digital, it has become immersive in other content, in another context. But learning itself has taken a hit because people are not getting the same kind of gravitas what one would get from a physics class in Oxford or Cambridge or Boston. How can this be negotiated? How can it be accepted? Because we are treating digital later. That's one part. Second is, I think there were students who will be young and who put the university as alert. Today you are teaching experienced professionals. Some of them are not coachable. Some of them are come with some rigid mindsets. How do you negotiate?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for your questions.
My name is Arvind. I'm not an educator.
No, but thank you for these 2 questions. So the first one with respect to how can we, if I understand it, how can we bring the traditional learning into today's world but have it translatable as well?
How can we adapt to the young ways of learning? So
one of the things that we would be working on in the next couple of months is we do have the core content, which is undisputable. We know that 1 + 1 is 2, right? We know that. We know chi-square, we know everything. This data, this content is there. What we are planning to do is record the core of the understanding, make it in the most interactive way possible so you can get those students to engage into that. And then the other activity, the other classroom activities, is engaging with them, making it more practical, and moving from just being theory, discussion, theory, instruction, but to bring that theory into reality. It's easier said than done, but you can do this through case studies, you can do it through bringing in guest lecturers, experienced persons in the field, talking the language that they are accustomed talking, and so forth. So there are many ways of bringing this interactive bits in. So that's one of our plans, is to convert our knowledge or content or the textbook ideologies, and you have it in a repository where they have to look at, but then you also take it to the next level to translate that knowledge and to have that knowledge exchange, not only between you as the lecturer with the student, but have that cross interaction between the peers within the classroom itself. The second bit in terms of diversity, right?
No, seniors' ability to learn. They're not moldable as young kids are.
So again, this would go back to, so the group that I integrated, that we did with, most of them would have had at least 10 to 15 years prior to my learning style. Now, we have the content. So what I did the content for about 25 minutes. Dump content, of course, taking questions, and I'm always looking in the chat box. Oh, thanks Abdullah for saying this. Philip, this is an important point, and I always encourage them, and I call by name. With that, it encouraged them to continuously ask questions, to give their input, and then in the breakout activity, you build a confidence of interaction between themselves and the lecturer. So this allowed them to embrace that style of learning, as well as giving them a voice to hear in that context. And what else? Also, giving them the various tools, making sure the access to the platform, making it easy as possible. It's just one click of a button. The inside, that's all. Just easy. Everything else, it was on our side to make sure the backbone has been integrated and so forth. So that's just some from our experience. Yes.
Hello, thank you very much for your lecture today. My name is Sarah and Dr. Sabah. I just wanted to ask about, because most of the educators in higher education still teach in a physical classroom, so I can easily visualize this using Jalinga in a virtual classroom, synchronous or non-synchronous. How can we, is it possible to incorporate this into the physical classroom in some way or in our teaching?
Yeah, so I think it is. It depends, because in UAE we're quite regulated when it comes to the accreditation of our programs and so forth. It depends on the context. Before COVID, we always integrated videos. So we would create our videos using PowerPoint. You could create your slides and your little picture is there, and you can speak and you have your voice over and so forth. So sometimes we would do that, where it's that knowledge dump that you would do, which is a short presentation, but you use the classroom as more of a discussion. But it depends again if you're undergraduate or postgraduate. Because if you're undergraduate, it's usually 80% theory, 20% practical. If you're postgraduate, this is a ratio we use at the School of Government. It may not be applicable across the board. 80% practical discussions, real case scenarios, and then 20% focus. I wouldn't say focus, but we do give the content, but a lot of the time, it's really about learning, sharing ideas, problem solving. This is what it's all about. So it depends on the context. I usually would do it. We can integrate it, and you're making it part of the non-graded assignment, so that they can use it, but it helps the graded assignment. So it's an encouragement for them to access the videos, as well as it saves your time. So sometimes we have a priority topic that comes up where there's a current discourse that's taking place worldwide or phenomenon, but we didn't really plan it when we did the teaching plan. And we have no space there. So we usually try to keep some space, so you have that content developed on the video. It's there. They can look at that at their own time. And you know, you can be innovative in that sort of that mode there. Is that okay? I think we had a question on this side, if I'm not mistaken. Any more? If not, I will just briefly, how much more? 2 minutes? Just at the School of Government, we are from under His Highness, we are one of the government entities. We are the Public Policy Institute here in the country and one of the few in the region. We inform policy-making processes across the country, the region, and the world. We are mainly in education for academic programs, teaching, in executive education, research, and events, and so forth. So we have 3 main programs where it's really, we have a master's in public administration, we have a master's in public policy, and we have a master's in innovation management. We also have an executive master's in public administration, which is like an EMBA. So if you're interested, please feel free. I know I'm strapped for time, but feel free to share the presentation as well. You can share it with this content. If you do have any questions, my email is at the end of the presentation. And I thank you all. I hope I wasn't too boring. I don't know if that's the point to stay quiet and get off the stage. But I hope it was interactive. Thank you all. Thank you for having me here to speak with you today.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Please don't escape from the...
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sure, no problem.
Thank you so much. Really interesting, really engaging.
That might be Jahan's.
If anyone has questions, feel free.
Yeah, this is
I'll hang around
Jahan's.
for the day.
So thank you once again for this insightful
That's
lecture.
one. That's
And I would like to give a few words to our next speaker, Mr. Robert Stackholm from AIT University Dubai. He will be having a lecture on AI for education.
I'd rather not. Could everybody at the back? Oh, that's nice.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you.
You can get up and dance if you
Can I take this off?
Yes.
Okay. Is it fine?
Right, since we seem to have got a ceasefire going at least for a while, I'll try and jump in. Is it okay if I don't use the microphone, even if the microphone is working? I'm somebody who talks with his hands. That's a problem when microphone a lot of the time. Could I also check, thank you very much to Emmanuel for informing me that most people here are actually in tertiary education. Could I just check where you are with AI? Like on a scale where this is, yeah, my friend told me about it, and this is, I've got some uses for it, and this is, I am a total nerd. Could you all show me whereabouts on the scale you are with your use of AI? We're getting into the kind of there. You're further down, further down. Right, well, I hope that that means there will be some things which are new for you today. I'm an English teacher. I got into AI because I read an article in the newspaper which told me that Australian universities were going back to pen and paper. And I thought, what, they never got away from it? Because students were cheating by using ChatGPT, which was the first I'd ever heard of it. So I looked it up and started playing with it. I think it's amazing, I think it's wonderful. I grew up watching Lieutenant Uhura talking to the computer on Star Trek, and it's more like, you know, it's about time. I've been waiting all of my life for this. The hope is that it's going to be about inspiration more than creation. But I would like, it's so nice when the technology works. Yogi Berra, I was pleased to discover, is an actual person, or was. He was a baseball commentator in America, famous for saying things like this. Now, I'd like to start by asking you about AI replacing jobs, which is a big worry, I think, for a lot of our students. Would you be able to predict what kind of jobs would go? Anybody?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think we had a coffee chat just before we came to this class, and I was sharing the industry data and everything. Contrary to the common notion that the low-end automation will be lost, since the high-end cognitive abilities will be automated, and that part of it will be lost for some time.
Some things, this was stolen from the internet. I'm not saying it's true because it's very difficult to predict, especially when you're talking about the future. I don't believe internships will go. It's a story about that. Conflict resolution, I find it hard to believe. What jobs would you think might be AI proof? What's not going to be affected by this?
Empathetic, human.
I'm particularly pleased about the top one. It isn't comprehensive. It doesn't do things like skilled workers. My dad was a carpenter, and I don't see ChatGPT doing that job anytime soon. This is a question that a lot of our students ask. Now, I talked with some students, did a presentation outside of my university, got to meet people who don't know me, and they were telling me this kind of thing, that they've already heard from all their cousins and brothers and sisters that there is this big gap. This is my daughter. She graduated last year from a psychology degree. She's now working in digital marketing because nobody with a bachelor's degree does anything in psychology. And as a student, she had been told, do not use ChatGPT. It's for cheating. We all know if you touch it, you will be out. So she kind of gingerly approached her new boss in her internship and said, because she's doing digital marketing, mostly she's making videos, which she really loves doing, but she also is supposed to produce some copy for them. And she said, could I possibly use ChatGPT to help? And she said the boss looked at her as though she was an idiot and said, yeah, we all do. That's an anecdote. I know anecdote is not the same as evidence. This is evidence. Stanford and MIT went to the Philippines. They went into a call center, and ChatGPT is definitely not answering the phone to anybody. And they got people using this and seeing what effect it was. Now, the more interesting story is that 14% was an average. They had people who just started in the company, been there for like a month, 2 months, who went up to about 35%. They were working at the same level as people who had been there for 6 months. They were either getting answers from it, or more often, they were getting it to make up scripts. And the scripts meant they could deal with frequently asked questions more efficiently, more successfully in terms of people being happier with what they just heard, and it would get them done faster and it would get more work done. Now, the conclusion that MIT came to is not that jobs will go, it's just that people who use AI will replace people who don't. And for me, this is a big thing. I think if we're not teaching our students how to use this tool, we're likely to be in the situation of our ancestors who lived in the Stone Age and made knives out of flint. Now, if one of them came forward and was able to ask you as their descendant, how are you doing? Can you make a good knife? And you said, they would be sure that you were going to die. I mean, you are obviously the family disgrace, but you're going to die of starvation soon. If you showed them Greek statues, I think they would all accept these people have got stone chipping down to a pretty fine art. I'm not sure where they would stand on the idea that the stonemason or sculptor who made that didn't actually make the chisel that they built it with. Now, I'm not sure what thing of beauty AI is going to produce that's going to be the equivalent of Rodin's The Thinker, but I think it can be a very useful tool. I will share the presentation with anybody who wants it. It's probably a little bit out of date because it was from 3.5, but it's a fascinating book and it's got a lot of really good ideas. If you don't know it, I would recommend it. From it comes this. Does anybody know what prep prompting is? But don't worry, I won't explain everything because that's supposed to be my job. It's a way of getting around the garbage in, garbage out. If you put a good prompt together, this is kind of a checklist. What do you want it to do? How do you want it to behave like? Exactly what you want it to give you, and how do you want. So, for example, and this is a real example I've used, examine the following syllabus, act as an experienced university lecturer, generate not more than 5 CLOs. I can see my colleagues are nodding, you know where this came from. Output them as a numbered list, in order of importance and in formal language, and that goes straight into your CAA accreditation attempt. This is where I kind of am now with a lot of my students, because although some jobs are going, some skills are definitely going, and there is a longer story which I am going to tell you on connected with the next slides. I realised that I'm taking some groups of students through a syllabus which makes them write or learn how to write emails. I think, well, that's a bit ridiculous. I mean, who does not know? This is a generation that thumb writes everything. They've forgotten how to handwrite, but my God, they're powerful with these. Why am I supposed to be teaching them that? And anyway, looking at my daughter's experience, why are they supposed to do that? There's a more efficient way. So I want you to help me write a business email. And if you do that, it will give you a checklist. And the checklist has got nothing surprising in it. It's all obvious, common sense. But it's logical, and students are often not logical. Now, I will show you an example later on of how you don't have to bother with the grammar, the vocabulary, the spelling, where you put the comma in this. Is there supposed to be a semicolon there? You just put it, it deals with that for you. And I think, well, that's a bit like calculators. You know, anybody going into a maths exam without a calculator is definitely somebody who's decided, oh, I left my brain at home. Never mind, I'm sure I can borrow one from a friend if I need it. How many people in the room know about Class Companion, can I ask? I know you know. That's 2. Oh, I'm pleased about that. This might be actually useful for you. Class Companion is free for teachers. You go, you make an account, you put in the name of the institution you work for. You can share a link with your students. Your students just click and they enter the classroom. You can put assignments up. I use essay kind of assignments, but it can do short answer, multiple choice and outlines as well, apparently. I haven't played with those as much. You put it up, you choose a rubric or you upload a rubric. Students write their answers in a way that you can read them, because they don't handwrite anymore and thumbs don't are illegible. And then they press the enter button, and with 1 minute they get 250 to 300 words of feedback, which yeah, your thesis is clear and concise, and it does a good job of setting up the rest of your essay. They know full well, if it was me, they might get good for a 1 out of 1. I don't have time to write that much. I don't really think it's that necessary, but I don't have the time and the energy. The next bit though, you've provided two examples of evidence relevant to the prompt, the impact of. This is fairly good, and what I find is, although it doesn't always get it, it can be confused very easily by students who go on for far too long and make sentences that have no really connections between the clauses within them. Most of the time, it gives good advice and it allows students. Now, they get to read the advice, to edit the first draft, and to resubmit up to 8 times if you want. So I started using it for midterms and said, look, I believe that the most important thing about the midterm is the feedback that you get on it, because you get a small mark for your midterm, a big mark in your final exam. You really want to know how not to lose marks there. It's not really essential over here. So yeah, you could cheat on this, not easily. But why would you bother? You're being given for free advice on how to do a better answer. Why would you run off to ChatGPT and get it done for you? You're learning nothing. And most of my students got that. So I set it up the week before. I brought them in, I showed them, I said, you people in the front 2 rows, you're my good students. Not intelligent, but just good. You're not going to cheat. Write 1 sentence and press the button to submit. You people in the back row, we know about you. You're cheaters. That's why you're in the back row. Go to the internet, copy 1 sentence, paste it in, and then submit. And immediately on the board, they could see pasting, 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 pasting. It was flagged up. And when I opened it up, they could see exactly what had been pasted. And they all went, all right, we know this, carrot and stick. If you do it, he's going to catch you. If you don't do it, you're going to learn. We're going to do it. But not everybody comes to class, do they? So on the day of the midterm, in walks this character. He's got an attitude. I haven't seen this attitude before because I would remember it. It says, I have great hair, I have broad shoulders. Those who do not love me are losers, because how could you get better than this? He went and sat down with the architects on that side and not the IT people on that side. So I thought, he's one of them, but he hasn't been here before. He started tapping away, and I realized, because I had to show him the link to get it in, that it hadn't updated on the board. Now what I should have done was pulled out the connector which projected, but I didn't think there was any problem, so I just hit refresh. Because the screen flashed, a lot of the students looked up, and then the architects all started giggling. It's got pasting beside it. It's been 30 seconds and he's already pasted something. Now I didn't know the name because I didn't know the face, but I thought, I didn't know who did this. He's tapping away, completely oblivious to this, doesn't know anything about what's going on. But the architects are all giggling still. So when he finished suspiciously early, I went over and said, sorry, don't want to interrupt, but it was him, wasn't it? And they went, yeah, it was him. This was a pasted text, don't worry about reading it. The yellow bits are what he pasted in, the white bits are what he did for himself, and the red bits are the mistakes. You can see all more social programs where there are many people in Europe, interactions take place, such environment. I thought that word salad is what he can do. The rest of it is obviously copied. Even if I hadn't seen that it was, I would have known that. And I thought, right, we've got them. You can't cheat on this, and it will teach you how to do a better job. So when my boss came down and said, we have to do reflective essays on the COP28, yeah. Presentation posters that were done. There are 156 of them. The marking is going to be huge. I said, no, it's not. It's going to be really easy. We can give them a double turn at it. We can use Class Companion, and it will all be good. And you'll see there are question marks up there, because what happened, one of the first responses after a very, very short time came in. It was blatant cheating. It was marked very low by the AI. because it did not do what the prompt did. And we put up a prompt which meant you had to reflect on what you'd done. And ChatGPT hadn't got a clue. But I thought, we've got it. I know that this was copied. It shows me the only thing that's in there original is the person's name and which course they're taking. But it's still low marks anyway, and we know it's cheating, it's going out. And then I got another one, pasting, opened it up. Every single word is pasted. And it's full marks. And when I read it through, it should be full marks. It was a perfect piece of work. Why is it pasted? Have they got the word? Have they done? But then I'm suspicious, so I did this. I'm involved in it. Can you write an answer to the following assignment? So I haven't put the full prompt in, it's too long to go on. I did that. Ask any questions needed to clarify the task before you produce any text. It didn't, it did this. Insert semester, insert source, insert poster title, and it leaves me in a bit of a confused position because I do not know, is this collaboration a really sensible idea? That person did that and they did reflect, they had to put some thought into it. What did I do? Into the gaps. But they didn't have to worry about spelling, punctuation, grammar. Is there supposed to be a semicolon in this? But that was taken care of for them. Now, I do have a lot of students who will have to write emails, and I think, why would I bother teaching them how to do that? It's a flint-knapping skill, it's gone now, we don't need it. I do have journalism, mass communication students, and you've got to learn to write. You have to develop your own unique voice. You have to know how to get people to read what you put down. And ChatGPT is not going to do it. It might actually, but it's not going to do that job for you. And so I was talking with my journalism mass communication students, and we're talking about how to develop this. And we've gone through this part of the course on writing emails, and I've shown them examples of what ChatGPT could produce, and they're all, yeah, it is functional, it's a bit bland, it's a bit boring. So we asked it, just for a bit of fun, could you write that email in the style of Ernest Hemingway? And they looked at it and said, yeah, okay, we don't know who that is, but we wouldn't write it like that. It's a bit too abrupt, not going for that. So I asked them for names, and I won't show all of the examples. Don't jump the gun, no anticipation. They came up with John Green. I hope you're doing okay, I've got some, and they all decided, no, that's, too casual, we're not going with that. And I thought, well, I actually discovered a brilliant way of using it, because they know what these people write like, but they don't know how those people write the things that they've got to write. So you give them a simple job like this, and they can examine this, and they're evaluating this. They're using higher order thinking, coming straight out of AI. So then I did do. We also did J.K. Rowling, who referenced dragons, and they all decided, no, we're really not doing dragons. But they decided, if you change the wording, this was actually a pretty good email. And then I asked them about Akala. I don't know, does anybody know who Akala is? No. British rapper, brilliant man. He does TED Talks, and he challenges people to say, who wrote the following quote? Was it Shakespeare, or was it one of a number of different rap artists? And the audience always get it wrong. And I show that to my students, and they'll go, what, he's a rapper? That doesn't sound like a rap. That's really brilliant, we like that. But they've evaluated, they've gone through. I could not do this by myself. AI can do this very easily for me. And they were engaged, they were thinking about it, they were into it, they were coming up with the names of the different ones, they were telling me why that would not wash. And I think even my journalism mass communication students were thinking, look, the next time I write, I'm going to play with this and see what can I steal that is good. And you can't do that unless you actually understand what you're doing. Now you might have people, I've got students who are intending to do IELTS exams, and I'm not loading tasks like that up into Class Companion because it's not in my syllabus, it's not part of what I teach. But I can tell them how to do this. Now Jen, who we're going to meet later on, and I did this as a study looking at how students can work on their own writing and improve. He actually marks, it knows what the public rubric for IELTS is, and will mark a task 2 essay question. But can you examine this and tell me how to improve it? Now you can do it like this if you wish. You should do this because if you don't specify, it'll just rewrite the whole thing for you, which is not what we wanted. It's not bad because students can pick things out, but it does tend to encourage them to just get an answer rather than work on your own piece of work. Study buddy, I do not do house calls. I will not be there 1:45 the night before your final exam telling you what you need to know about stuff. But GPT will. Sorry, it's a bit small. You probably want to look at this on a slide later on by yourself. But the essence of it is that it will give you a lesson on a topic that you choose at a level that you've asked for. Yeah, because it's a prompt, it tells it to do that. It will then modify the way it explains it depending on what your personal interests are. So I will share this, promise. This was my own example. I'm a first year university student and I work on a non-verbal communication for presentation course. I'm interested in martial arts and manga. So it gives me a pretty reasonable short description of what non-verbal communication is. And then it tells me, in the context of martial arts, think about how to position somebody. In manga, think about, and that's tying it straight back to things that students actually understand. And go, oh no, I already know this. That works. This is something I'm working with students now. I've got some Uzbekistan students whose language is a bit low, but who want to take the IELTS at some time. And again, it's not what I teach, so I haven't got time to work with them as much as they need or that I would like. But this can. It knows what a typical prompt for IELTS 2 speaking question would be. Yeah, I want you to generate a set of leading questions that would allow a student to compose a full answer, wait for the student to answer those questions, then generate a model answer. Describe a memorable trip. You should say, now this is exactly what the IELTS prompt would look like. And there are no surprises in the leading questions, they're pretty much the same thing. And this is my, don't worry about the grammar, the vocabulary, the spelling, or where you put the semicolons. It's not deathless prose, it's very simple to do. But this is the beginning and the end of it. Now, what would students pick up from that? An awful lot of vocabulary that is very, very relevant to the subject they're talking about. Some inspiration, ideas, things they could talk about. There is no student, I hope there is no student, who could memorize every single possible question at part 2 and memorize every answer given. They would get inspiration, they would get ideas from it. That's about it. And again, you know, you've got your journalism and mass communication students who want to play around with something like this and just see, how else could you talk about it? And the styles are very, very true. Those who've heard them, read them, would agree with them. We're all familiar with this? Some open? Yeah? Right, I teach this to my students to say, this is what we have to do with you in exams. You're going to go through this, you're going to answer at all different levels. And we don't have mock exams. Could I ask, how many people are familiar with the idea of think, pair, share. That's
Yeah.
most, right, that's most. I do a similar idea now. We'll lecture through, cover the topic. I want to check, and I've got a couple of ways of doing checks on this, but one thing I'll say is, look, you're pretty obviously going to get a question in your final on this topic. We can prepare for it. And I can get this to generate one question at each level it moves. And then they evaluate what is it that you've just seen. So they will look sometimes, not always the same, but sometimes they're looking at the question 1, knowledge level, and it says define. And I say, do you think that's a reasonable question? And they say, no, that's going to be 2 sentences. You're never going to give us something as easy as that, not even in the first part of our exam, which is the simple questions. It's not going to be that easy. You're going to look for something like, what are the 6 thinking hats and how do they work? Where 12 different points, yeah, that might work. And they'll evaluate and say, well, we could answer something like this, you taught us how to. We couldn't do that, it's too advanced. And no, too easy. And then I get them to sit down, choose a question, get into pairs, discuss the question, what might come up as an answer, and then they share their ideas together. And then we do the compare. I take that question, put it into ChatGPT and ask for a model answer. The model answer starts printing out, as you'll know, it's very, very fast. And if you do this with your students, I can pretty much guarantee the result is going to be what it is with my students every time. It's going to be, got that, yeah, we got that, we got that. Oh, yeah, we didn't get that, didn't we? That's interesting, we have to write. Don't wash until you memorised it. Because that's a good point, and we wouldn't have thought of that good point, and that's bound to get you extra marks, isn't it? Because we wouldn't have thought of that. Equally, you might have students who want to test themselves on this, make the information gap, and then see how well they've covered it. And it's not just a model answer, it's how do you make your answer? What are you capable of doing? How do you make it better? The only thing that's better than a mock exam for the teacher is a real exam that you didn't have to write yourself. And I'm indebted to my colleague Poonam, who taught me how to do this. Look at the following syllabus and exam template and write the exam for it. It's back to prep prompting, act as an experienced examiner. Questions, this is the format that we would use. So questions in section 1 are 1 and 2. Section B, 3 and 4. There's 1 compulsory question and can be. Yeah, and then I want a case study for certain questions. So you've got to read it through, think about how does that work. It will not give you a perfect exam paper every time.